we have to control the song tonight, you see. Yes, ma'am, you we are dealing with.
Hello, welcome. We're here today in V2E Studios and we're going to talk about room acoustics. Very recently got a pair of speakers, a pair of Genelec speakers that come with some software which enable you to analyze your room and then correct your room. What's happening when you're listening to music in your room is the music is flying out the speakers in all directions very, very quickly at the speed of sound. It's bouncing off of all the walls, all the surfaces, coming back to you, getting early reflections, late reflections, direct sound. And so there's an awful lot of phase that's happening. There's an awful lot of amplification to the waveforms, and also a lot of minusing, which can cause cancelling out of the waveforms. So today we're going to learn about that. We're going to show you what my room's doing and how the software has corrected it, and how I've used a little bit of room treatment to help with these things as well. So here I have the left, the center and the right speaker from my Genelec 8330s. And what they've done is they've thrown out a sine wave from low to high, measured it with a mic in front of the speakers, and then given me this reading. And so if I go in here a bit bigger, this is the left speaker. The red is the room EQ, what's coming back from the room. The blue is the EQ applied by the Genelec software. The green is the line I'm left with. Now, the crossover for this, because I've got a sub, the crossover was 100 hertz. So the green line from here going forward has been made quite flat by the Genelec software. Now, this one is before I put in some treatment, because I kind of looked at these, saw how bad it was, and then I thought, I'm going to need some treatment. Look at the bass response. That's 20 decibels up there, that is. It just flies off the chart at 20 hertz, 30 hertz, 40 hertz, about 45 hertz. It sort of comes back from being 20 decibels up, goes down into a dip at around, where is that, 60. So there's a proper node in the room at 60 hertz. I had that in my last room as well. Always never really hear the C notes very well. The right speaker is looking like that. So you can see the red is quite erratic. There's some peaks there, 60 hertz, 120s, so harmonics. You've got one up here at 370, 380. There's no one here at 660 odd. You know, you're talking what, 6, 7, 5 or so hertz there. It's got the info of the EQs applied down there. There's been some pretty hefty 6.4 EQ applied at 64. But these are the speakers that are rolled off at 100 going into the sub. So although they look quite erratic down there, it's not affecting so much. The sub frequencies are more now the balanced green line here. So we've got a bit of a bump at 20 sort of hertz, and then from 30 hertz up to that horrible little 60 hertz dip in the room there, we've got quite a flat sort of response compared to what we did have. Again, it's quite flat all the way up, just past 100. So the only real problem we've got here in the bass frequencies is this node here, which is to do with the measured room. So have a little look at those. They're quite erratic, they're quite mad. They've been flattened out somewhat by the Genelec software. So as I said, I went and got some soundproofing, sound reflection treatment, a few bass traps, little bits, nothing too much, bits of foam. There was stuff I had made anyway in here already, some sort of broadband stuff with like fiberglass material. Now I have sort of improved them. I've put a little bit of rubber back on the wood that was on them, and I've also drilled holes in them so it lets the air out. So they've kind of become better, and I've added some more foam around the room. I will take some pictures and put them up so you can see that. Now we're going to switch over to the new setting, and then we're going to have a look at what's happened to the graphs. So here we go. So we have the left speaker. Oh, it looks a bit better. The right speaker, still fairly erratic. And where's the sub? It hasn't loaded the sub, excuse me, while I do that again. Left speaker, right speaker. It doesn't want to load the sub for some reason. We'll try it again in a minute. So now you can look and see that doesn't look as bad. We had two sort of peaks here. We've got obviously a bit of a big one there, but it's nowhere near as erratic as the one previously. So clearly the sound reflection stuff works to a certain extent. I can still see room nodes down here in the low frequencies from that. The right speaker's not quite so good, but it's still a vast improvement on the sort of erraticness that came with before the treatment. So we've now got a fairly flat curve of the green line. There's still a few decibels boost here and there, but you're talking about sort of, you know, two, maybe 3 decibels here and there, until we get down under the 100 hertz, which the sub's taken care of. So we'll try and get the sub one loaded up, see if it loads or something. So we bring up our center frequency. Now, if you remember the one from earlier, it shot off the corner at like 20 hertz and didn't come back down till about 45. The peak, the trough was still there. That's a room node. I don't know what I can do about that unless I build concrete walls, maybe. The bass is now very flat, apart from this problematic frequency, quite all the way along. So I've got really good bass response apart from here. And when I look at here, I can see that this is now 52 hertz. So I've put in some bass traps, and I'm sure it was 60 hertz that was the problem before. So I don't know if it's a room node or what it is. Might be that corner of my room. I've got like one of those rooms where it's got a sort of a corner in it, which is not a flat wall, basically. So, you know, I could fill that whole thing with concrete. Maybe that would sort it. But it's not my house and I rent it, so we won't do that. But yeah, what we can see here is quite a sort of vast improvement on what we had beforehand, which I'll sort of just go back to just to show you after seeing that what we're dealing with. So there it is again. It's shot right off, so that's got under control a bit. You can see the Genelec speakers have sorted it all out. It's a bit flatter. Second time around, this one, you know, is still a bit bumpy there. But yeah, so what we're saying, 60. So yeah, we've moved that room node down 10 hertz somehow. I'm not sure how the bass tracks did that or what's happened there. I suppose it's probably just the measurement of the bass trap making the room a bit smaller, I suppose, maybe. I don't know. So there we go. That's some Genelec speakers for you and what they're doing. They are EQing the room, because what happens basically is as the sound flies out of your speakers, it bounces off. It travels at 330 meters per second. So within a second, it's probably bounced several hundred times maybe around your walls and come back at your ears already. And you kind of perceive that as one sound, but you're not really hearing the true sound. The true sound is not being reflected off the wall so often. So acoustic chambers, etc., that you might have seen around the place have like crazy padded walls, and that's kind of what I've done to my studio. I'm kind of mad, so I've made the walls a bit padded, made it into a padded cell for myself. But it's really improved the sound. I'm just sitting in here in a mic, chatting away, and you can probably hear there's not a lot of reflection coming back. There's not a lot of reverb in the room. It's really sounding quite good. So this, along with the Genelec speakers and the EQ, has pretty much made my room into quite a high-quality mix room. So that's the end of that one, and big up to all junglers.